Are joining virtually. Thank you. So now we even have the mic on, so you should be even hearing me a bit better. Good, good. So another warm welcome. My name is Michele Dunlap, president of TTAG, Tics and Tourette across the globe. And it's my true privilege to welcome you here today at the S conference, at our TTAG session within the S conference here, themed Empowering Minds, Creating Supportive Educational Environments. And we at TTAG, we're very proud to connect individuals and organizations across borders. So we're not just looking at national entities, we're looking on a broader scope. We're trying to include any and everyone who is open to advocacy work, to our conversation that we are having. And today we have a particular conversation. So our work is in order to improve the lives in general of those impacted by tics and Tourette syndrome on a global level. And we as an organization, since our founding in 2022, we've been focusing on building meaningful partnerships with national organizations, with researchers, with all sorts of stakeholders within the Tourette community. That is very important to us. And today, we're very proud to mark, it is our third TTAG session within the S conference. So a warm welcome once again. And it's very inspiring to see, as Marla had already indicated, familiar faces and possibly new faces for us here in the auditorium. Welcome, who are here in person, and of course, welcome to those that are joining virtually. Yes, so we're coming here together as indicated in person and online with a community that is passionate about contributing, about sharing, about having a conversation, and being supportive as such. And our focus today is on education. So let me just make sure I should have had this up right from the beginning, but now we're starting as such. Okay. Here we have our agenda for today. And as you can see, it's a very full program. We have a time frame from 9 o'clock this morning until 1300 this afternoon. We will only have 3 short breaks, 2 5-minute breaks and a 10-minute break. And we would be very appreciative if you would support us in keeping our time management and adhering to the schedule if all possible so that things run smoothly. Right to the begin, also some housekeeping reminders. If you would kindly silence your mobile devices. Also, kindly refrain from any foods or drinks in the auditorium, as this is not allowed. And for your orientation, the restrooms are available on the left-hand side, from your viewpoint, the left-hand side, right here outside, on this level, the level below, and also in sub-level -1. So there are various facilities. So, and then I would say, let's get started. And today, I will give you a very quick summary, a very, let's say, a highlighted summary of our activities in 2024. I think you are all familiar with what and who TTAG is. We're an international organization dedicated to supporting individuals with tics and Tourette syndrome. And we're focusing on global collaboration. So we're bringing together all sorts of stakeholders, in particular advocacy groups, researchers, medical professionals, healthcare specialists, in order to not only share the knowledge that we have acquired over so many years, but also to use and share best practices that have been established. We want to advance research, of course. We're wanting to strengthen our global network, which we have initiated, and that's our force and our power where we're heading towards. And of course, the main cause is to reduce stigma and enhance care, if all possible. The 3 core pillars of TTAG, of course, uniting and strengthening the associations that have been established in the national countries. So there are many organizations that have been established for many, many years, and we're trying to connect them so that we're not working all just, on our grounds, but trying to work in a more collaborative and sharing way. So we're wanting to not only collaborate, but share knowledge and also build a stronger network, a global network. In addition to the established organizations, of course, our focus is also on underrepresented or underserved areas. And that's where our unique TTAG ambassador program comes in. So we are supporting areas, individuals that are willing and wanting to bring awareness and education and support into their either area, into their region, or into their country. So we're wanting to establish sustainable community-driven support systems in areas that are underrepresented and underserved at this point. And that is basically the foundation of our work. Inclusivity and collaboration is what we're not only looking for, but what we stand for and what we're trying to share with all of you as well. And if we continue on with our growth, advocacy, and impact of 2024, we have been able to double the number of our association members. We have new members now in Spain, in Holland, for 2024 I'm referring to. So new members in Spain, in Holland, in France, in UK, in Poland, the second Spanish organization as well, and also now for the very first time in 2024, we have an international member being New Zealand. So we're very proud to have doubled our memberships as far as associations, and as in regards to our TTAG ambassadors. In 2023, we were able to enroll Sri Lanka as the very first ambassador, and now in 2024, so last year, we have been able to add Argentina, Colombia, Greece, who has now emerged to already an association, and also Peru as an ambassador. Right, and in regards to our work as such, we are focusing on research and education. Those are our 2 main committees that also have a lot of international volunteers, and we are very proud that we have 2 experts leading these 2 very important committees, one being Dr. Kinga Tomczak, leading the research committee, and also Kathy Giordano, who is here today with us and will be included in the program on the education committee. And just to give you a quick idea, the research committee is not only bringing together the researchers with the advocates, but we're looking into various subcommittees, basically providing webinars to the audience, to educate, to increase awareness. And also there is a subcommittee that is dealing with preparing summaries of studies that have been made available in a more layman language, so a very easy to understand language for not only caregivers, but for families, for those impacted themselves, to be aware of what is happening in research and how they can possibly be involved or how it can benefit them. So that is in regards to our committee work. We've been able to provide 2 webinars with an international audience. Our 2 speakers, Dr. Kevin Black, I believe many are familiar with Dr. Kevin Black. He's a regular at the S conference and is also holding the as a keynote speaker this evening at the opening ceremony, and also Dr. Erica Greenberg. So those are also very, very, how should I call it? Very interesting and very inspiring activities that we've been providing. We also had the International Women's Day campaign that focused on lived experience by 11 very courageous and wonderful women, global, around the world, sharing their lived experiences with Tourette syndrome. And in November of last year, in cooperation with TTAG, had an inaugural Tourette Syndrome Day in Athens, providing firsthand information by medical professionals about Tourette, but also we celebrated the launch of Tourette Greece with Christina Papakaliati, who will also be here today in our panel. And not to forget, of course, our second session in Varese in Italy, where the conference took place last year. So we had a lot of speakers, and as you can see, we had also a social gathering, which is always important because we do not only want to have you here as an audience, but we want to interact, we want to communicate with you, we want to exchange thoughts, ideas, whatever it is. So this is another milestone in 2024. And yes, our fundraising. I believe, well, whoever is a representative from a national organization understands the problems in regards, or the challenges, what it is in regards to fundraising. TTAG, this is a major challenge that we have, but with our new board, we are committed to finding or defining strategies and finding solutions to obtain appropriate funding in order to basically provide the sources for our activities and our projects. So, and I think I'll close out at this point, introducing the new board that has just been elected at the end of April in our AGM. And we not only have individuals or board members that have been re-elected to our team, but also we have two newcomers, one being from Spain and one being from New Zealand. And I'm very proud to say that the team is not only a professional team, they have a long-standing reputation in advocacy work. We all have a connection to Tourette syndrome, either through family members or professional work. And it is just awesome that we now also have two individuals with lived experience on our board. And my wish, my vision is that we increase that number even more so, because lived experience is exactly what is the drive of our work. So I would say I'll end this. I think I'm within time. Is that correct, Marla? Okay, wonderful. So thank you very much. And let's start our exchange, our communication, and let's dive into what our theme of today's session is. So I'm handing it over to you, Marla. Thank you.
Good morning. How's my sound? Usually I don't need a mic, so I'm going to have to be very careful here. I just want to say very quickly, on behalf of the entire TTAG board, we'd like to thank Michele Dunlap for her leadership, her vision. She keeps us all on track. She keeps us all motivated, and we wouldn't be here today without her support and her love and her operation and direction. So I want to thank you for that. And a special thank you goes upstairs to Anna. Anna, everyone in this room knows you. We're here because of you too, so thank you so much. All right, so let's play with the buttons. My name, for those of you that I don't know yet, I know a lot of you, so it's great to see your faces. My name is Marla Shea, and I am the mother of 2 adult daughters with Tourette. Devin, who is 30, I can't believe that, and Reagan, who is 25. And they're the reason I'm here today. They were all diagnosed along with their dad at the same time in 2004, and we have been advocating ever since. I've been with the Tourette Association of America, ended up getting remarried in 2018 and moving to England. So I live over here now, not quite here in Greece, obviously. And that's when I found I was introduced to the wonderful people of TTAG, and I've been with them ever since. So the education comes near and dear to my heart because that's where I was really embedded in the United States doing work for. I am not an attorney, I'm not a lawyer, but I went to a law school program in Virginia in the United States. William and Mary has a special education advocacy program. So I was certified in 2011 to help families work with schools on their special education programs, getting the accommodations they need in classrooms, and really emphasizing how important it is not just for the families, the teachers to work with the students, but the families and the teachers to come together as a unit and work together and collaborate. Because with greater understanding, greater acceptance in the classroom, you have a better learning environment. So I do tend to get a little stern sometime on this topic because it is near and dear, and I will try to clink that in. So we're going to have an interactive poll for you today. There's a QR code here, so please scan that. And our poll today is, what do you think the biggest challenge for students are in the classroom? Students with Tourette, excuse me, in the classroom. So everybody have time for that, and we will be getting your answers and accumulating them and summarizing them and then sending them to you after the conference is over. All right, fantastic. No stigma, no judgment. Andreas, this one is for you. I love this post. Mom, what is normal? It's just a setting on a dryer, darling. It's all it is. Inclusion, acceptance, equity. Reaching, and it was Iona that said last night, it's that very first diagnosis and that very first appointment that you have with whoever you're seeing that normalizes the condition that makes all the difference in the world. And then going into advocacy in the schools, you're going to normalize it there too. And we're going to talk about that. So the thing with understanding in school systems is oftentimes the schools are not aware of what Tourette is, or they think they know what it is because someone has told them that this is what it is. So what we want to talk about today is proactively going into the schools before the start of every school year. Now, I hear people say all the time, my school won't do it. My school won't do it. Once you get that first appointment in, it's built in rhythm, and then you will continue. I promise you that. I have 22 years of watching this happen. The first one is always the hardest to get. And then once you get it, you have it. So our recommendation, depending, is 4 weeks before the school system starts, you go in and you have a presentation, ideally with someone from your patient or association. That is the best way to do it, because oftentimes parents, we go in and they think, well, that's just the parent. You know, no, the parent's just saying, no. So having somebody trained in your patient association, reaching out to us in TTAG, that brings a validity to the meeting that adds a layer of calmness. You also bring food. Always bring food. So what is in an in-service presentation? So we can all read here very simply, the goal of an in-service presentation is to understand, promote empathy, and have so somebody once said, who needs to know your child has Tourette? The answer to that should be everyone in the building. Now, there's a knee-jerk response to that, which is, I don't want to out my child. If your child is ticking, he or she is already outed. And they're not getting provided the proper information for why they are ticking and doing what they're doing. An in-service presentation brings together educators, gym teachers, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, whoever you can get in the room, and you are gently explaining what Tourette is and what Tourette isn't. And the key to that is, so again, and you're going to hear me say this a lot, the key to that is so we're proactive and not reactive. Because when there's a problem in the classroom, it's already kind of too late, right? Everybody's made their judgments. They're thinking what they're doing. This can't be, he's just being a brat. He's not doing, they don't understand that it's neurological and not a chosen behavior. I love that you're nodding. Thank you, sir. All right, so what does an in-service presentation do for you? It promotes safety for the student. I think personally, I mean, Kathy, you and I have done plenty of in-service presentations. I think I've done over 200. The children that I've had experience with welcome it. They want to be understood. They want to be heard. Oftentimes, you know, it's usually the parent's decision whether they want to have their child in the presentation as it's happening, and that's a case-per-case basis. But oftentimes when the child is there, you see their head go up and their shoulders go back a little bit more, and they're empowered because people are actually taking time to understand and to listen to them. And then it comes to creating, again, a calm environment, ideally. All of this is ideally. So you're choosing prevention, you're choosing education, and you're choosing inclusion. And these presentations can go anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. It's depending on how long you have booked with your school and your relationship with your school. And I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to be inclusive with the school. A lot of times parents, you know, we're tired. Our kids are ticking. There's coexisting conditions. There's, you know, multiple things going on in our house, and we can maybe get short with a teacher. Why didn't you give him his homework? You know, it's really stepping back and realizing that that teacher is a partner with you, and they'll feel that partnership too. And that begins with the in-service presentation at the beginning of the school year, excuse me. So what is contained within an in-service presentation? Again, it's going to talk about Tourette 101. What it is, who has it, what are the percentages? They're going to talk about the coexisting conditions. Have we all seen the iceberg analogy that is online? Well, you're looking at the woman that created it right over there. Raise your hand. That's her. She created that. So, I mean, I remember in 2004 looking at that and going, okay, I get it. I understand now. You're teaching the teachers through discussion and asking for their input and asking questions, because there's another thing too, and Kathy's going to talk about this. It's so important that you have a dialogue with the teachers and they feel that it is a safe place to have these conversations in. So we're going to talk about how Tourette can impact the school system or the education within the school. You're going to look and I know this is different for everyone and there can be cultural barriers here, but you're going to want to share what's happening with your child. Is there OCD? Is there ADHD? Oftentimes, in my experience, I've seen families that are able to address the tic part of the iceberg, but they don't want to address the bottom part for whatever reasons of stigma within their own family, cultural, whatever it may be. I urge you to rip the Band-Aid off on that one and be upfront with your schools and tell them what is going on with your child so they can best serve your child. And we're going to talk about that too today, whether those are accommodations, longer testing time, all these different things that come with the collaboration within the education system. Okay, so why is this so important? It's important because it allows the school staff to have time to process it. Because let's keep in mind too, are there any teachers in the room? Anybody have any family members that are teachers? Neighbors? Perfect. Any of you that have known a teacher, their work day doesn't start the first day of school. They're in that classroom 6 weeks before, breaking their backs trying to get everything set. So they're in their mindset too of, 25, 28 new kids. How are we doing? How are we doing? This in-service presentation will give them, my apologies, will give them the comfort and ease to know that there's Billy and Billy has Tourette and we know just how we're going to handle it when they do. If Billy has any vocal outtics or if Billy needs to leave the room due to anxiety, it's all pre-planned so there's no surprises. And it comes down to not waiting for a problem to occur, getting ahead of the problem, being proactive versus reactive. Ooh, I'm going fast, aren't I? All right. So this is pretty self-explanatory in what we're looking at. And I think we've covered a lot of this because I started a little bit early. It's going to talk, your in-service program is going to talk about reducing triggers in the classroom, ignoring tics instead of drawing attention to them. Why flexible seating is so important. This just never occurred to me until I was 2004 and I'm in my shoes. Some children do better where they can see the door and they know they have, like my oldest daughter has anxiety. It's her Achilles heel. And she was best sitting at the seat by the door in the front row because with her ADHD, if she was sitting in the middle of the class, she got distracted. Things were going on. So we had accommodations. Those are the easy accommodations. The accommodations that don't cost money are easy. It's when you get into the accommodations like the voice to text, or if you need a teacher's aide or something like that, then it gets a little more tricky, but that's another conversation for later today. So hall passes, that was another one that's so great. A lot of our kiddos can get pretty anxious, especially in a school setting where you're crammed in with 28 students and the bells are ringing and everybody's talking and people are on their phones. It's like being stuck in the subway for 8 hours and you're just, in there. Giving them breaks and allowing them to take a walk around the school, go sit in the counselor's office need be, whatever it is they need to decompress and not take advantage of it. That's part of it too, but to use their passes when they need to. These are all things that you can talk about in your in-service presentations as well. Anybody have any questions on that before I go on? Am I talking too fast? Okay, good. I try to slow it down. Okay, so this is an actual in-service presentation that we did for students. Now, and the important part of this is you're going to have an in-service presentation before school starts. And then, Kathy, we're going to have team meetings. We're going to have team meetings. So you want to stay in communication with your teachers. And you can have 10-minute huddle-up meetings. Do you have any questions? How are things going? Is there anything you need? Is there anything that you're seeing that we didn't address? And allowing them to have an open dialogue with the parent that's non-judgmental, that's non-aggressive, which sometimes you can be when it's your baby, right? And if you think your child's being bullied or whatever that is, but you're coming together again as a team unit. So, Kathy, how often would you do team meetings?
How often would I do it during the year?
Mm-hmm.
Typically, I do it at the beginning of the year, then mid-year too. So
Okay.
and just allow them. I mean, I think it's important that you let them know that you're not going to be lecturing to them. You're going to be answering questions.
Right.
Because then they're more likely to come and feel comfortable.
Absolutely. Also, build relationships with your principals and your vice principals. Build relationships. It's so important. If you are a parent, it's tough. If you're working full-time or full-time parent at home, lots to do. I can't tell you how important it is to have a relationship within the school before something goes wrong. So when my daughters got diagnosed, I called the principal that morning and just started crying. And he's like, okay, we got you. It's okay. But he already knew our faces. We were already involved in the school, and it just helps. It really does. So the other thing you're looking at here are students. And this was about maybe 8 or 9 years ago. And Tourette Association of America does an amazing job. You can check their website as well. They have presentations and they talk about advocacy. Kathy, as she's going to talk, is for the TTAG Education Committee. We are building together, bringing resources, global resources together for such meetings. What you're looking at here is a presentation that goes to students themselves. And this is a gentler presentation. It's a lighter presentation, but it's explaining to the classmates of your child what's going on, what's happening. This is never done, obviously, without the full okay from the student and the family. We want them as comfortable as possible. I can't tell you how many of these I've done where the student that we're presenting for says, you know, I'm just going to stay in the back of the room. Inevitably, they're in the front and they're talking. Because time after time, another student will raise their hand and say, I have this, I have that. We actually had one student raise and say, my parents are trying to have a baby right now. We're like, no, that's not necessary. Thanks for sharing. So it's that inclusion again that is so important. And when you normalize it and you talk about it, it becomes normalized. And I think today's world with social media and everybody being able to connect, I mean, look at what we're able to build, using Zoom and our social media accounts. You're seeing more of what Tourette is, and unfortunately, sometimes you're seeing what Tourette isn't. And here's an opportunity to go into the schools and truly educate them on what it is, what it isn't, how you can help your child, what your child's needs are, and how you can stay in open communication so you can be proactive and not reactive. How'd we do? Any questions? Yes. Hi. What's your name?
Sorry.
Oh, you're
Excuse
my
me, I'm sorry.
Virginia.
You can use the microphone every 4 seats. There's a microphone. You can just
Every
pick
four,
it.
okay, thank you, Anna. Every 4 seats, there's a microphone. Virginia, you are on our panelist discussion. Have a seat right there. You're good. Thank you. Where's your partner in crime? Okay, good. Do me a favor, give her a text and get her back up here. Any other questions? Yes, Francois.
Jean-François Mitten from AFSGT.
Is it on?
Yeah, that works.
There we go.
Jean-François Mitten from AFSGT. This question is a key question. It has been, AFSGT was funded. I was co-founded in 1997. That was the first point we had to solve. And it's still the key point in our annual conference. We had exactly that problem or still on there. And the first thing, we set up this idea of the triangle of the teacher, the parents, and the child.
Yes,
And all that triangle has to turn around smoothly.
absolutely.
Of course, in our system in France, we have sometimes classes with 30 pupils. 30, it's a lot when you have one guy who is disrupting, as you said. So it's very difficult. And indeed, it raises a lot of questions. A lot of them are not solved, but as you said, empathy is very important, and trying to find solutions to help the teachers to find solutions. So I really welcome your presentation. I think it's probably one of the key steps which will enable both the parents and the child to look forward. Because the problem is when you are in school with all those problems at the beginning of, in the early stages of schooling, then you think, how many years do I have to handle that. And it's a big stress for the parents and the child. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. The triangle, I forgot about the triangle. That is extremely important because it adds validity to everything that you're saying. So thank you, sir. I appreciate that. 1978. Bless you. Any other questions? Yes, I know you.
Thank you, Marla. Very nice presentation. Elia Abijodi from Canada. I really like your point about addressing, intervening before a problem occurs. I have to say, in my role as a clinician, often I step in when the problem has already started, and by then there's already an established dynamic between the parents and the teachers and the school, and it's very hard to change that dynamic at that point. So I really appreciate that. The challenge is resources. In Canada, we have the patient organization Tourette Canada. It's entirely volunteer-based. It's not that many people, especially in a country so widespread, that are available to provide in-service presentations. I try when I can. Also, time is very limited. So I don't know if you have thoughts on that. And also, I'm curious, in fact, because you've done a lot of these, have you done them in your capacity? Is this mostly when you were in the States, or are you doing them in the UK with Tourette Action, or are you doing them as part of TTAG?
I must have hit it without knowing. All right, thank you. So I have not done any in-service presentations myself since moving to England in 2021. No, actually, that's not true. I did one in 2022. I did one in California. I do coach other chapters in the United States, their leadership teams on doing that. So no, I have not done that yet. What was the other portion of your questions again, please? Oh, is TTAG going to be doing that? So one of the things that we are very, very careful and aware of, that TTAG is an umbrella organization for all the patient associations. So we never want to step on the toes of any of the other patient associations. So you have UK here, or you have Tourette Action here. They do wonderful in-service presentations as well. I am always available with the collaboration of the patient association that in the country that we were in. You have in fact, all right, so that was question one. Question two, there was a third question, was there not?
Just resources, human power.
So, right, so how do we get in it? Zoom is your best friend. You can always Zoom into a meeting. It's not as effective when you have all the families on Zoom calls because you have, you don't know what people are doing behind these. They go off camera, they could be watching Scooby-Doo. I mean, you'd have no idea what they're doing. So we've done a number of them that way. So now I'm having flashbacks. So up until 2002, I was doing in-services because I was still chairing the American chapter for Washington, D.C. So I was still doing them then. In terms of resources that we touched on a little bit there, the ones that don't cost any money are perfect and easy to get. Everybody nods their head. It's when you're asking for resources that it's tough. And at least in the United States, literally, the administrators are trained to say no first. And then I see you nodding. And then you have to present the information to them. And then they can say yes, if there's the funds available and things like that. I don't know if that's like it. Is it like I didn't touch it that time, just for the record. Sometimes, parents will, get they're like, they just said no. And so but they're trained to say no. So nope, you can't have it. Here's the reasons why. Okay. The other trick of the trade that I was talking with Christina about this, for those countries that have special education laws, and this is what we were told to do. It's a little intimidating, but it's meant to be that way. You go down and you download the special education laws for your country. And you put them in a spiral bound. And you have little tabs and you make it look, spill some coffee on it, make it look like it's nice and loved. And when you're unpacking in your meeting and you're saying hello and you're putting out your donuts, you just gently put it to the side and you let it sit there. You don't touch it, you don't address it. It's the big elephant in the room. Because the only thing that matters in that room literally is what the law says. And the parent may not understand the law, the advocate may have it wrong, there's whole different reasonings. How am I on time? Got it. There's whole different reasonings to why people think sometimes the way they think. But you also get yourself in a situation where if something is being said that you just don't agree with, you can really just smile and say, I am not familiar with that. Can you show me where that is? It's not hostile. It's just the book right there. It makes a world of difference. And the thicker, the better. Kathy.
Could you mention the fact that the resources that we have those videos
Our education videos.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a perfect segue.
Kathy, you can also press your button, the green button in front of you.
It's your turn. I'm trying not to talk.
Yeah. Oh, but I'm going to talk over you. All right. So we're going to just talk as I'm going through here. One of the beautiful things about TTAG, being an international organization, is that during 24 hours of every day, there's always someone who's passionately working on TTAG. Said by this beautiful woman. And we all went, oh, that's fabulous. So what you have here is our education committee. You are looking at multiple countries that come together on a bi-weekly basis. You have England, Finland, Argentina, New Zealand, Poland, Spain, the United States, Germany. We are coming together and building resources for patient associations, which brings to what Kathy was just talking about. We're about to launch a series of, there's about 20, 25 of them, I think, total, videos where Kathy is being interviewed by Andrea Milionis. I got that, Milionis. And they are the bottom questions about Tourette and education, right? Perfect. So that's going to be a resource that you as patient associations and families can go and tack into. If you would like to become involved with our education committee, with any committee that we're doing and TTAG, we welcome you. We need you. We welcome you aboard. So please feel free. Here's our contact information here. Everything that you can possibly need. You're going to see this slide multiple times today. And it's break time. All right. Thank you, everyone. All right, we will be coming back. Just a reminder, this clock is 5 minutes fast. So we will be coming back in,
At 9:50, please.
thank you, 9:50 for our panel discussion. So if I could see my two panelists up here, I would greatly, Virginia and Christina, if you guys could come up, that would be great.
And just a quick reminder, the actual coffee break is going to be the following one, the 10-minute break, okay? Thank you.
All right, we're going to be starting here pretty soon. Actually, we're going to be starting now. All right. I'm sorry, say that again. We are literally timed to the minute. Okay. All right. All right, so everyone, we are going to be, whoop, that sounds a little loud. We are going to be seeing a video. Hi, everyone. I'm Marla Shea, and it is my honor to be here today with Natalie Davidson. Natalie is a teacher from the UK, and Natalie also has Tourette. Natalie, thank you for being here.
Hi.
So Natalie, we're going to be talking today about creating supportive educational environments for people with Tourette. And you have such a great perspective because you have Tourette yourself. Talk to us. What do you want us to know about supporting children with Tourette in the school?
think from my journey working in education and feeling that being the first-hand experience, but also through supporting other students, the most important thing that I've ever recognised is that we need to expand the circle of understanding for that person with Tourette's, bringing in more people into their inner circle, educating them on what their Tourette's looks like, how that feels in life, the impact that that has generally on them and the people around them, how they would like people to respond, what makes them feel comfortable, and bringing in their closest peers to start with. And if they feel comfortable, then expanding that circle. The more people that understand what Tourette's actually is, against preconceived ideas maybe, the more people that they feel supported by, and the more included they feel, the more things that they will access, the better they'll get from their education. And then that'll ripple through, well, hopefully through generations, but it'll ripple through their whole life in the terms of what they feel that they're capable of going and doing and not feeling isolated.
Expanding their circle of understanding. I think we need t-shirts.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it could be a slogan.
I love that so much. Well, Natalie, thank you for being here today. We appreciate you so much. We appreciate everything that you're doing. Is there a place people can follow you on social media or?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Tourette's_teacher.
Wonderful. Well, everyone, we're going to put that up so you can follow us. Natalie, thank you so much for participating
No worries.
today. And we look forward to working with you again and seeing you real soon.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for everything you do. Bye-bye. A teacher with Tourette. Can't get more insight than that. So thank you, Natalie. All right. So Anna, do we have Lucy? Fantastic. So again, as you all know, we're going to be talking today about creating supportive and educational environments for people with Tourette. We have 4 major player panelists that are here to discuss today. I'm going to let each of you introduce yourselves. That's so I don't butcher last names because I am very bad at that. Kathy Giordano, can we start with you?
Sure, yeah.
Mic on, please.
There. My name is Kathy Giordano, and I am a parent of 3 kids. And one of my children, my youngest child, has very severe Tourette syndrome with all the related disorders as well as the neurological rage. But he is very successful. He's the one that got me into this business. I never expected to be a presenter of Tourette syndrome. But I have worked as an advocate for him. That's how I started out. And then I became a professional advocate and am now a consultant and an international presenter, and just extraordinarily excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Christina?
I don't have a red button.
It's the one, there you go.
Hello, my name is Christina. I am a mother of a boy with Tourette. He's the reason I founded Tourette in Greece, the association. We are newly founded, so it's something very new to me. I don't know how to explain my happiness that this conference is taking place here. It's a great honor that the TS board decided to do it here. So that's about it. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Christina. Virginia.
Okay, I think I'm good. Hi. Hi, everyone. Everybody heard my name as I walked through through the room. I'm Virginia. I'm a special educator, and I'm working with kids with special education needs for the past 8, 9, 10 years. And I have co-working with with a boy with Tourette syndrome. for the last 2-3 years. So we've been together in this daily struggle in his school life. And I hope I'll give you answers about the daily struggle and the daily experiences. I'm happy to be here. So
We're thrilled to have you here. Thank you, Virginia.
thank you.
And as you can see, this is actually a real life collaborating parent-school relationship right here. Do we have Lucy coming from the UK? We do. There she is.
Hi, can you hear me all right?
We can, Lucy. Introduce yourself. Great to see you.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for having me. It's lovely to be part of this today. My name's Lucy. I'm the Education Manager for the charity Tourette's Action in the UK. I've been working for them for about 7 years now. And what got me as part of that team was that I also have a child with Tourette syndrome myself. I say child, he's big and hairy and 19 now. But we started life off with Tourette's Action in the very early years, and they helped us. And being a teacher now for over 15 years, both in mainstream and SEN settings, I'm just thrilled to be part of the charity and be able to give my experience and really help parents advocate for themselves in school and get the support they need for their children, the correct support, and also work with schools that have got children with Tourette's that really are unsure of how to best support them in the classroom. So yeah, that's what we do.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lucy. And thank you for coming in today via Zoom. You're like the big, powerful Oz talking to me behind me. So, Lucy, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to throw this question at you since you are on mic right now. Tell us, what you believe some of the biggest misconceptions about Tourette are in the classroom that impact students.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is what is their tics, or what are their tics, and what is actually behaviour. I think it's very hard to unpick that. Many teachers will say to me, I get that you're saying we've got to ignore the tics and distract them from the tics, but how do we know if it's a tic? And how do we know if it's neurotypical behaviour or a behaviour as a consequence from another co-occurring condition they've got? And I think that's probably one of the hardest things, because it's a very large misconception that, behaviour is part of Tourette's. Of course, it could be a consequence of things that happen. But, our children are generally very well behaved, I hope, in the main. That's not the issue. The issue is that they're struggling all the time with their tics. And when they're not ticking, they might be suppressing. And all that will really impact on their distraction and concentration. So it's really about educating schools to know what Tourette's is really like, honestly really like, on a day-to-day basis, and what our children have to endure. And that our children are amazing. And with the right support, they're very capable.
Extremely capable. Thank you. Any of our panelists down here before I call on you? Anybody want to add anything? Kathy?
I can always add something.
I know you. Kathy and I go back about 15 years, everybody.
I think the major thing of Tourette in schools is the misperception that it's only tics. As I talk to schools, they'll say to me, well, it's not a tic. Well, but it still may be a symptom of Tourette. It's the comorbid stuff that lots of times can cause more difficulty than the actual tics. So I think it's one of the largest misperceptions, and I think if we can get past that misperception, we've come a long ways.
Very valid point. Thank you, Kathy. So Christina, I'm going to go to you. As a parent in the school system right now, if I may, you just had a school meeting yesterday.
Oh, yes, I did. And it was very hard and disappointing, because it's very hard for them to understand that when a kid has Tourette, and I'm not mentioning if he has ADHD or he's in a spectrum, which it's the case of my son, because he has the triple neurological condition. They cannot understand that when you tic, you have additional difficulties. It's not about the noise or the movement. It's about you cannot concentrate, you get tired, you get upset, you get nervous, you get anxious, all these things. So it's very hard for them to understand that how to support the kids, how to support, okay, I'm talking about my son, how to support my son. They say, no, he has to be in the structure and under the rules of the school because he cannot act the way he behaves. So I find it really difficult to educate them. I don't know how we are going to do it. I'm doing it for 4 years, and still I see that they cannot get the point. What's the major problem? What's the major issue? They think that it's something that it's just a sound, okay? And it's like give him a stress ball and he will relax. It's not that easy. So that's a challenge, and that's my aim, that's my goal. I have to educate all schools. I have to educate as many as I can. And on bottom of that, we have to make a law that protects the children in the education system because we don't have any. And so that's about it.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the legal or the government?
Yeah, I think that they are going to present it today. We have made the proposal. It's a proposal to give not benefits, but to help children and when they have exams, tests, to give more time or to give a private space for them if it's severe, if there are severe tics, so that also the kid can relax and also the other classmates won't be disturbed. So we have explained the whole case psychologically, what they face, how they feel, so they can understand, okay? Because they cannot understand. It's very hard to understand. So that's, we have made the law, we have prepared it, and it's ready for today to present it. Yeah, thank you.
We're here to support you on that. So Virginia, as a teacher, tell me what your thoughts on after hearing these 3 individuals speak.
I completely agree because I've experienced this from a very close side. They think most of the teachers or the staff of a school, they believe that it's something, tics are voluntary, that they are on purpose. They can't understand that it's something that you can't control. And I'm always trying to explain to them, imagine having a sudden and very intense hiccup. Like imagine if you have this hiccup 24/7 during the day, you can't control your body because it's pretty intense. Like you don't know what is wrong with you, and you're trying to figure out what is going on with you, and at the same time you're feeling that you are different, and the other schoolmates, classmates will stare at you all the time, they will laugh at you, and at the same time you have to be productive. You have to stay seated for at least 6, 7, 8 hours in a class, and you have to remain your attention to the lesson and be productive to the different learning tasks that you are called to deliver. So I'm always using this example, but still they don't understand that it is something that you can't control. They think that it's something that will go away, or that something on purpose. And there are comments like, why is he so loud today? Can't he control himself? He can control himself, he just doesn't want to. And it's so tiring explaining again and again and again. And about the law, Even though there are diagnoses and papers that are proof, still they act like they are not valid. And there are proposals. We have made proposals for a differentiated educational process or assignments, but we're fighting for that. We are trying. I think that the key word is acceptance and understanding, and lack of awareness, of course, makes things more difficult, but there is a lack of acceptance too. So
Thank you. So anyone here want to volunteer for Tourette Greece and become an active volunteer? Speak to that woman sitting right in the middle there. We would love for you to come on board because all of these efforts need help and capacity. And no one here is a paid volunteer. We are all doing this out of the goodness of our hearts. So if you are interested in joining Tourette Greece and helping with this educational effort, we'd really appreciate that. Always a plug for volunteers, Christina, always a plug. So Lucy, anything you want to add on top of that before we move on to our next question? Whoop, you're on mute, my friend.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think the only thing to add, and we might be coming on to it later, but you mentioned about the acts and the law. I feel like we're very privileged in the UK. There's still lots of things we need to improve on, but we do have things like the Education Act, the Children and Families Act, we have an Equality Act, we have a SEND Code of Practice. You know, all of these were sort of done around 2010, 2015. And it does protect us. You know, if we want to take things further and look at the law and make sure our children are supported correctly. That's not to say it always happens. You know, lots of schools don't always put things in place they should be, but it does help us. And the acts basically, they're all different, but they basically say that we have a legal obligation to meet every child's needs. And for those with SEND specifically, to make reasonable adjustments. And that's, you know, that's really important for us, I think, and important for many countries, just to have that safe grounding. Again, it's not to say that it happens all the time, but we've got something to, you know, to work on if needed.
And I think a key word that you just said there too is reasonable. Kathy, do you want to touch on the US? I mean, not literally, but you know.
Yeah, the U.S. has laws that have been enacted for quite so many years, and one of them is a 504, so that it's a disability awareness law, and there are certain things that must occur. You must provide for people with disabilities. But don't think the United States has it all wrapped up, because depending on where you are, there's people from the US. Some places really are wonderful, and some schools are really great at following the laws and providing the services, and other schools are not, and certain sections of the country are not. Certain sections do better. So it's really, you know, please, we do have the laws, and they help a lot. And like Marla has said, I've been in a lot of meetings, and I've had people argue the law with me. And I've said, okay, let's look at the federal law. This is the way it is. And they're like, well, no, our school doesn't do that. Well, wait a minute, it's the federal law. It's not, it helps, the laws really help. It's just not a cure. It's not a perfect.
All right, so why don't we move on to our next question? I'm going to start, Christina, I'm going to start with you. Talk to me about what are some of the key challenges that students with Tourette are facing in the mainstream education system.
The difficulties.
Challenges. Yes.
Challenges.
What makes it hard for them besides everything?
Acceptance
No?
and understanding. I think the main challenge is that they don't feel that they understand them and that they accept them as they are. Mostly in elementary school, kids are accepting more because when they meet their classmate as he is, they learn him that he's like this. So they don't mock him, they don't make fun of him, most of the times. But as they grow and they get older, things are worse and they're very mean. So I think the main challenge is the acceptance from their classmates, apart from the teachers. But the classmates, I think, is the most challenging for them.
It sounds like there's social isolation in there
Yeah.
too,
Yes.
which if you're putting your kiddo on the bus to go to school and they feel like they're going to be isolated the entire 6-8 hours that they're there, that's a long, hard
Yeah,
day.
it is.
And then you add some students will try to suppress their tics. So you will also hear teachers say, well, I don't see them tick in school. Well, they come home and they explode their tics when they come home. And all that misconception really does.
Exactly.
Yeah, it totally goes in there. And it also brings to disciplinary actions. So Kath, you want to touch on some of that? I know this is a hot button for you.
Yeah, I think punishment is one of the main problems that I see. We somehow think that if we punish a child that they will change. This is neurological. This is not something that they're trying to do. What kid would want to purposely make these noises or disrupt the classroom or say something rude? It's not purposeful. And one of the things that I really stress every single time I do a presentation, I don't care if I have 5 minutes or 3 hours, is that it's a disability of disinhibition. It's the basal ganglia of the brain that says to all of us, this is okay to do now, or this is not okay to do now. You must do this now. So, we all have thoughts in our heads, but a lot of us are able to not express them. For a person with Tourette, if the basal ganglia is not working perfectly at the moment, it's going to be expressed. And I think if people can understand the disinhibition part of it, and I think that helps them to see that it's not purposeful, it's neurological. And if we can accept that it's neurological, then it goes a long way. A lot of times kids with Tourette will apologize. It may not be immediate, but they don't want to do this. So helping the other students to understand is huge. But the teachers need to understand too, and the teachers really are a role model for the other students. And so if the teachers are accepting, then it's more likely the kids are going to be accepting. And I agree that in elementary school, things typically go a lot better. And then in the higher grades, it can be, everything's more difficult in the higher grades. There's social stuff going on, and there's academics are harder. So it gets difficult. But
Thank you, Kathy. I see Kinga. Do you have a mic, Kinga? Introduce yourself, please.
So I'm Kinga Tomczak, child neurologist from Boston Children's Hospital. I'm also a TTAG chair of research committee. But I had 2 comments. One, I remember I had a patient with very severe tics, including vocal tics, and his mother did the presentation in school. And what he was saying is that it helped him so much to know that now people understand. So this, you talk about this disinhibition. If you're a little bit more relaxed and know that people will accept you back, it's the pressure, the premonitory urge can improve if you know that people are aware of what's going on with you. So he was saying that it really made a huge difference after what you're talking about today. So I think even that alone, if a child feels the support by the peers and the teachers, helps a lot. And my other comment was a different situation that I had to deal with as a provider is that some kids are really good at suppressing the tics. And Marla, you mentioned that. So we were asking for accommodations primarily for ADHD, which is so comorbid with Tourette syndrome. And from teachers' perspective, because they did not see the tics, the schools were refusing to give 504 plan, or like they would do 504. In the US, we have IEP, which is the individual educational plan. And for many of the kids, it's a much more structured and better support system. So I remember like I had to write letters, talk to the school psychologist who was arguing with me, this child does not have Tourette syndrome because they don't appreciate it in school. But I really was advocating. So, it's also very individual from a child to child. Sometimes it's the tics, sometimes it's the other things, the comorbid conditions that can be so problematic.
Thank you, Kinga. And that's a perfect example of what Francoise was saying about the triangle between the parent, the school, and the medical provider. There's a great example right there. So thank you.
And I want to follow up on what you were saying about the students suppressing, because they don't want to be weird. And so they try to suppress their symptoms, but in suppressing, they're not paying as much attention to what's happening in the school. And I also agree that if the child knows walking into school that people understand, their anxiety is going to be less, their symptoms are going to be less. If they walk into school thinking nobody understands and everybody's going to get upset at them, their anxiety raises, and so they have more symptoms.
So that kind of feeds beautifully into talking about, and let's bring this globally, intersecting it. How do the other factors such as learning disabilities, cultural stigma, that's a big point. We've got many countries in this room. How does cultural stigma impact the education for a student? Does it complicate things? Lucy, I'm going to throw it back to you. Still on mute, my friend.
I'm back.
All right, beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's tricky. I think we're all doing a great job nowadays, aren't we? We're trying our best. And I think there are some communities that still don't perhaps view Tourette's in a positive light, and there is that social stigma. I think we've all got that social stigma, we've all experienced that, but in some communities it's harder than others. And again, I think it's just having that communication, that open communication with your school. It all comes from the top, doesn't it, to be honest? If you've got a good head leading that school, celebrating diversity within the school, celebrating everyone's differences, it makes it a lot easier. And like Natalie Davison said earlier, all we want for our children is to feel safe and included. And that is to educate people around us. And it's also about psychoeducation, isn't it? That, what is Tourette's? What does it mean to me? This is for the child, obviously. And how can I vocalize that to other people? And I think that's really hard when, we have a lack of support from the clinical side, because there's not a lot of support out there post-diagnosis. And, it's empowering our children to learn for themselves a bit more where we can, because as much as we want to educate and everyone around us needs to support us, ultimately, as we get through high school, it's down to that child to advocate for themselves where possible as they start their journey into adulthood. So, yeah, I think schools have got a lot to learn about helping children as well learn about themselves and advocating for themselves. I've probably gone right off topic now.
I was following you, so you're good. Thank you. And as I've mentioned before, I moved over to Europe in 2021, and I had the blinder bubbles on. You're in your country, your own country, you're in your own world, you're in your own house. And it wasn't until I came over and started working with these amazing people that I really opened my eyes and saw the differences in all the different countries. And, it's Christina, I had no idea the uphill climb that you're having here in Greece until I met you. And these are all opportunities for us to come together like we're doing today, and being able to bridge all of our resources and help each other and share best practices and share insight and share support and friendship and things like that, because that is so important, because often, more times than not, these families feel so isolated. We've all been there. For those of us that either have Tourette or have a child with Tourette, we know the isolation that comes with it. And when you become part of something like this and you build community, there's strength in that. And I've seen firsthand how that strength can take the edge off when you're going into schools and help with the collaboration, because you know that you have people behind you that are supporting you. So the UK, we touched about the UK schools, we touched on the IDA, and so IEPs, just so the individual education plan, there's also a phrase that IEP means I expect progress, right? Because you got to measure the progress in the schools and how everybody's doing. So I always love that one. Does anybody here in the audience come from a different area, country, that you just like to touch upon your laws or school special education laws? I don't mean to put any of you on the spot, but thought it'd be a good opportunity. Belen.
Hello. It's okay?
And
Yes.
introduce yourself, please.
I'm Maria Belén Prieto. I'm a TTAG board member, and I'm a psychologist who works with people with Tourette syndrome, and I have Tourette syndrome myself. I'm from Argentina, and I live in Spain. And I think that there is something that, I'm sorry, I have my little support here because of the language. There is something that affects everyone, everywhere, and it's that all of us are different. So when I was a little girl, I thought, like, why people have to talk about me like I'm strange when everyone has something. All of us has some talent, a lot of talents, and challenges too. So when I have to talk to schools, I used to think about a framing intervention with students from a perspective where we propose that we all have talents and challenges. We are not talking just about myself or the girl or the kid with Tourette syndrome at the classroom. No, we are giving the opportunity to all the girls and boys at the classroom to talk about what are their challenges and educate on diversity. And I think that's the key. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So in doing research for this today, I've got the rhythm of that now. Doing searches, I found that interesting, Canada ranks high in collaboration with students and teachers in special education programs, as well as Finland, who emphasizes special education and teacher collaboration. The Netherlands has a very strong mental health program within their country. And a key takeaway could be consistent national funding and mandatory training, which then yield better outcomes, which kind of circles back into what we're talking about, starting on the grassroots level of the in-service presentation. Kathy Giordano, how can parents and educators work together to push better awareness and accommodations for students in schools?
I think building a positive relationship is so important with the parents. And I talk to a lot of parents that are angry, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to tell them what for. Well, you can do that, but it's not going to work. Developing a collaborative relationship and getting to know, I always like to like to know the school psychologist because they have a big voice in schools, particularly about Tourette syndrome. So I just encourage parents to try to be as positive as possible. I remember there was a young man that I was advocating for, and I said to the father was going to attend the meeting, and I said over and over and over again, okay, don't worry about the past. Don't do that. And as soon as the meeting started, man, he just blasted them about how bad they were. And I'm like, oh, it's just not as effective as it is. I mean, we're people. Teachers are people. Teachers are trying. being a teacher, my eldest son is a teacher. Teaching is not easy. So the more the parent can help the person understand. What I also see a lot is teachers calling parents and say, okay, I need help with this. What should I do? Well, the parents might not know. So again, resources, giving them resources. And I'm very pleased and proud of the videos that we have done because they're very brief. They're 3 to 5 minutes and it's on social skills. It's on writing. It's on disinhibition. It's on noise. You know, it's on things that may be affecting one kid, but not another. And so we can use those videos for the teachers because teachers don't have a lot of time, but 5 minutes, you know, they might be willing to do that.
Thank you, Kathy. Virginia.
For me personally, the coordination of those, there are a lot of people working with a student with Tourette's, if it's lucky. I mean, there are special educators, speech and language therapists, occupational therapists, probably psychologists, the parents, teachers. There is a large group of people. So it's very, very important, the coordination, the open communication, because they're always exchanging ideas, experiences, or ways that something worked or something else didn't work. And I'm going to talk about the parents. It's really important for us, the teachers, to keep in mind the stress that they are dealing. They are always thinking what they did wrong. There is this blame, and there is a constant battle, an everyday battle for their kid. So it's really important for us as teachers to make you feel calm and close to us. It's a partnership. I think it's really important, this open communication.
So I'm going to stay on you because you just hit a very valid point that we want to talk about, which is how do you see best creating an inclusive classroom?
Awareness and communication. I mean, the coordination. That's the main roots. And the acceptance comes from within. It's what you said. Why me? Why don't they see that they are different? We have to accept that everybody is different. There is no other way.
Right.
I'm probably look like I am a ginger hair girl, or I don't know, normal from the outside, but everybody has something special. So this acceptance has to come from within, and it needs educational progress and a growth from within. And I think the coordination to keep in touch with everybody. You don't have to think that you are the superhero and you are on your own. You have to cooperate. You have to listen. You have to listen to your needs as a teacher. You have to listen to your students' needs. You have to listen to the parents' needs. So inclusive education comes from within and from the coordination of the people.
Inclusive comes from within. I love that. You know, I was just having memories when they gave us the diagnosis. We were diagnosed at Children's Hospital in Philadelphia. And I walked in to the room and I sat my daughter down and I said, everyone has something and this is your something. And I don't know where that came from, but it just popped into my head. Was that a hand up? Oh, I thought I'm just so used to you. Okay, so let's pivot a little bit. We've talked about in-service programs. Lucy, I'm going to go back up to you. I say up because you're over my shoulder. Talk about some of the things that you think would be important or that you do with Tourette Action when you go in and you give in-service presentations and you talk to schools.
I think it's about being a human being. It's about getting, on the level with teachers, because when you go into a school and you're a bit of a specialist in your field, you can feel a bit threatened by, or teachers can feel threatened by you. So I think, it is about normalizing it. It's about saying, look, we're not expected to be we don't expect you to be the experts, but what we do expect you is to reach out to the experts, because we're here to help. We have the answers. We can support you. We can support your children. So it's a case of, saying to teachers, and I believe, like Kathy said, teachers are trying to do their best. They're busy people. I have to get my teacher hat on here. As a parent, I feel a little bit differently. But as a teacher, they are doing their best. And we have to understand that Tourette's is complex. It's challenging, But again, they have to adhere by the laws, certainly here in the UK, and they have to support the children. And on the whole, I feel that schools are willing to learn. They just haven't got the time. They don't know where to look. So if we can give it to them on a plate, if we can make things, like Kathy said, really short, really accessible, lots of really short fact sheets and really good advice, simple advice, and also learning the science behind it. It's not really good enough to tell an old school teacher that you just got to ignore the tics. We've got to give them a reason behind that and help educate them further into understanding what Tourette's is, where it comes from. In our training, we do lots of exercises to explain and help teachers feel what it's like to have a tic, what it's like to suppress a tic. So I think it's really important we get down to their level and as I said, humanize it.
Thank you, Lucy. Appreciate that so much. And when you touched upon what it's like to have a tic, Virginia, you said perfectly, it's like holding in a cough, holding in a sneeze. That's a perfect example, and you will see the teacher's head start to nod, because that is just a clean, easy way to explain it that they usually haven't heard before. The other thing we were talking about when you talk about collaboration, and as an advocate, Lucy, you hit on that schools can be intimidated when an advocate walks in, right? They're assuming that there's going to be an argument. And one of the things that I always try to do pre the meeting is, build myself as the advocate, build relationships with at least the vice principal in the United States. The vice principal has a lot to do with setting up these meetings along with the counselors, and make the point that you're there for both of them. It's not just the family side. It's not just the schools. You're there as a mediator. But, I don't usually use the word mediator because that makes it sound like there's, grift on the other sides. But if you let the school know that you're there for them too, and you're not going to let the parents go off, even though, Kathy, it happens, right? It does. And you think, oh, here we go. Have a donut, trying to just get through everything. Once school realizes that you're there to help and you're not, because once the lawyer, in the United States, once the lawyers are involved, 90% of the cases solve in favor of the school. So you don't want, I love our lawyers, don't get me wrong. I love the line, nobody likes a lawyer till they need a lawyer. I love lawyers. You don't want to go there with your school. And the best way not to get there is to start in the very beginning with a collaborative, open communication relationship, so you don't have to get there. And more times than not, right, it really works well. And then sometimes it really doesn't. Any of you have anything? I've got more here. Anything you want to jump in? Yes, Kathy. Oh, wait. Yes, Francois.
Again, your point is interesting about this legal aspect. We don't have it in France. In France, what we have is, as a mediator, is sometimes it's very difficult to have the administration of the school accept someone from outside. So even if the parents ask, some people for some reason, don't want to have outside intervention, something like that. So what we usually do is we come in support of the parents, so that the teachers and the director of the school recognize that it's a serious matter. They are always very careful not to get to criticism of very, this kind of basic criticism. It takes time for them to adjust, many times. But when it works, it's fine. I just want to come back to what you said about the parents. One thing you have to understand is, we all know that it's when the parents recognize that the child has a problem. And this is, to me, a key point that has to be managed, and in which the association is extremely important. It's the first contact. We are desperate. We don't know what to do. Sometimes it's a very long message, and we need to reply. And the second thing, and it's cool, it's very typical. When you talk of handicap in France, people, or most people say, oh, they are underdeveloped intellectually. They are not, they have a problem, intellectual problem.
Understood.
And the problem is, I have not been able to prove it, but my own research is very clear. All the kids I met have really an intellectual level which is significantly higher than the average. For some reasons, I'm not going, which I know, which I can explain, but not now. And so that's the problem, is to show to the teachers that the potential of these kids is probably one of their best bets in terms of results. And that's something that needs to be discussed clearly.
I think you
could
need to
not
come on
agree
our
with-
education committee.
I could not agree with you more.
Me
And I
too.
haven't kept track either. Over the 37 years I've been doing this, I wish I had kept track. But I think most of the kids that I have supported are really bright.
Yeah.
Really bright or really talented. I think God does that on purpose, because here you got this kid that, looks weird, but boy, are they really intelligent if given the right supports and opportunities. And sorry, I want to go back to something.
Oh, no, you're
An inclusive setting. So my son was diagnosed at the age of 5. I think it's really important. I didn't know anything about Tourette. The first time I heard the word Tourette was when he was diagnosed. Of course, this was back in 1990. So my son, I think it's really important that parents help the student know that they're okay, understand Tourette. And before I became an advocate, my son became one. So in kindergarten, he asked, totally unbeknownst to me, he asked the teacher if he could tell the class about Tourette, because kids were teasing him and laughing at him and making fun of him. And so this wonderful Miss Lane sat on her rocking chair and sat my son on her lap, and my son told the class about Tourette. My son, people think that as an advocate, that I had a hard time. I didn't have a hard time. And I think part of it was because of my son. I think his acceptance and his talking to the kids. Now, obviously, he was bullied somewhat. There's no perfect world. But I think one of the reasons he did well is because the teachers knew, and they knew him, and they knew that he was okay with this, and that he was very bright. And he's a drummer, unlike drummers. So that helped a lot, that the teachers and us as parents supported him as a drummer, because the kids accepted him. Drummers are cool. That's just the way it is. And so people accepted him because the teachers and the school supported him in his strengths.
Personally, I always had a thing for the guitarist, but drummers are cool too.
And yes, my student is a pianist, so
Oh, there you
yeah,
go.
they are pretty charismatic kids, and that's a great disappointment because they put them a label only for tics. They put them only this label, but they are way more, much more things. They have so many talents.
Right.
He can play the piano with his eyes closed, and you're like, oh God, why?
Before I go to you, Sven, we were talking last night, and when we were first diagnosed, we had, may he rest in peace, his name is Dr. Peter Meyer, and he was amazing, and he sat on the Tourette board for state of Pennsylvania, and he's the reason that I'm standing here today. And he brought our daughters in, and he sat them down, and he said, now let me tell you what's really super cool about you. You're going to be creative, you're going to be, and it wasn't the negative, it was the spin on the positive. And they had that from the very first point. And I just needed to get that out of my mind. Sven.
Yes, thank you. So I just wanted to add.
Introduce yourself.
Okay,
please.
so I'm Sven. I'm living with Tourette more than 60 years, and I have a great life. So this is why now I also would like to speak. It is so important to understand. Remember, we discussed last year, language creates reality. So whatever we speak and set up in our mind for each person, whether you are with Tourette or whether you're so-called normal, for me there is no normal, we create something in our subconsciousness, a kind of personal reality, which we believe as long as we keep it. And we can only change it if we change our thoughts, our feelings, and based on this, we can create a new reality. And therefore, it's so important to support many young people, to facilitate them, to help them to create their own strong personality. Because this is even, I would say, more important or as important as to create the awareness outside. If a person is inside strong, he doesn't care. Yeah, look, I was lucky. I never cared. Of course, if somebody laughed about me, I didn't like it so much, but I knew I can play football. I had enough girlfriends. Girls kissed me, let's say, when I was a teenager. So
no doubt.
And I got married twice. I have 4 children. I have grandchildren. And, I am starting companies. I'm working in Silicon Valley because I just don't care. And this, I wish all those people, whatever you have, even normal people should have it, they should try to find out who they are, what do I like, where am I strong, and then go for their own wishes in life and fulfill their own dreams. So people should catch their dreams and have support everywhere that they can, let's say, realize their dreams. And that is the important thing. For me, people who are, if I see people who are whatever we call very successful in life, most of the people, they are bipolar, they have a Tourette syndrome, they are autists. I can tell you, I know people who are so successful, yeah, and this because in the most cases they're happy about what they do, and they have, I think, managed to create their passion and converted it into their profession and are going happy through life. And so one thing is to creating the educational environment and to create awareness, but it is as important also to support people in develop their personality, what we heard already before. And this I can only prove because I'm with Tourette, and a lot of solutions come from people who don't live with Tourette, which of course is good that somebody cares, but you have to ask more people with Tourette also. And this is why the patient's advocacy is so important. So that's from my side.
Sorry, can I ask you? Can I ask you? Did you have support when you were?
No, because when I was young, it was 67 years ago, there was no Tourette. And people, and I think school and environment was not yet that cruel. It was more acceptance, more you listening to teachers. listening to parents. There was more respect to each another, also children versus other children. So I think part is also how our society developed, which is more tough, I would say. It's at least from my point of view.
So you had this acceptance from a young age.
Everywhere, and nobody told me, nobody in my parents or my friends told me that I'm wrong. They told me, okay, breathe slowly, make it slowly, and because they saw that something is different, but I was never, taken as a person who's not part of society or who is wrong, let's say. Yeah.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Okay. You are so right about the support from the family. I have many families who call me, and the first thing that I tell them is that you are the first person that should support the child. I had seen a big difference in my son when we started supporting him the proper way, when we accepted it and we started support. He changed completely.
Yes.
He was more relaxed.
Exactly.
His tics were less, and he was more confident. He was not afraid. He had he was thriving in many ways. So you are so right. We didn't mention that, but supporting from the family is the key number one.
Yeah, and then
comes all.
based on that, the more content and happy the person is, even people without Tourette, everybody actually, the more he can be himself. And then we with Tourette, we have less tension. Typically the tics are reduced, then I would say, in my observation. And then anyway, environment again reacts different because you are more calm. So it's a kind of positive vicious circle which develops in a positive way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the family is the most important for the kid. I mean,
Yes.
if the family accepts him,
Exactly.
supports him, let's say not that he doesn't need the rest, but it's the 80%, I think.
Correct.
Yes.
You know, we have done 20 years ago when we were in the board of the German Tourette Society, we developed based on my own, let's say, experience. Michele is, by the way, my wife. We developed some trainings for children where we said we have to strengthen the personality based on that children have to find out based on those sessions which we did where they're good in. So we try to see that they think about themselves and tell us what they think they should do. So we did a lot of work on that. And what the message also from the young children, and they were in between 10 and 17 were, most of them were overprotected by their parents and by the family. Because of course, as a parent, you want to protect because you want to care. But in some way, it must be balanced out, protection versus still giving the child the freedom or the young person the freedom to be himself and to be allowed to make mistakes, which have nothing to do with Tourette, of course. Yeah. So actually, a typical development of a person, whatever, nothing to do with Tourette, actually. I think it's very easy. Perhaps we have too many thoughts around ourselves.
I'm going to thank you so much for that. I see a hand. We're almost 10 minutes until our end, and I want our panelists to be able to have closing statements, but no, you've been waiting. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Maria Hadji-Michael. I'm a senior clinical psychologist for Great Ormond Street Hospital in London. I'm also a fellow Greek, so I'm probably going to speak to you guys afterwards.
Oh, good.
I just wanted to comment because a lot of the work that we do at Great Ormond Street is supporting the parents, and we've spoken a lot about acceptance, but acceptance isn't just something that you can just do overnight, and it's something that we work really hard with the parents to come to terms with the young person's difficulties. And it's really difficult sometimes for parents to get to the point of acceptance, and it can often interfere with consultations with the school. If they're interacting with schools, their emotions can take over. You can get a lot of anger and aggression directed towards the school because they themselves haven't come to terms with the challenges themselves, and there's almost a grief, that a process that they go through as parents, that the child isn't the child that they thought they would have, for some parents in particular, that's what we help them to work through. And some of our work that we do is advocating on behalf of the parents, sometimes with them in the room, sometimes without them in the room, to neutralize the interaction, because it's a very emotionally evocative time for everyone. Everyone's trying to do the best for the young person. The parents are really struggling, the child's struggling, the school's struggling. So we try and, defuse that by providing information. Knowledge is power. So, by doing that, we try to move towards acceptance. But acceptance is a long journey. It's not just something we can do overnight.
Right. Thank you so much. And I'm in London next week, so we'll see you there. All right, so we are going to take these last few minutes and allow our speakers to have closing statements. I'm going to start with the parent on the panel. Christina, is there anything you would like to say in closing about the session, the global education world, your experiences?
As I said before, I think that my main purpose in life right now is to try to do as best as I can to bring the awareness, first in the educational system, and help not only the children but also the parents not to feel lost when this journey starts, as we felt ourselves, because it's really hard for the parents too. So it's my role, I think, because of my son, is to give this to my society here, and I could use any help I could, because I'm totally alone on this right now. So thank you, Marla, and everybody, because I have the support.
One big Tourette family.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so Lucy, going back up to you.
Gosh, a closing statement, that's quite a tricky one to do in such small time. But I think for our kids, to let them know that they're amazing, Tourette's isn't going to define them. They're so much more than their tics. And that, yes, we are here as parents and charities and organisations to help them along the way. So it's a tricky path. It's a tricky, life is tricky when you're a kid anyway, let alone with Tourette's. For parents, I think it's to know that they're not on their own. Certainly in the UK, as Tourette's Action Charity, we're here to help them. Like Maria was saying, it's a very difficult process in acceptance, in learning how to best support your child. You've been thrown into this world of SEN that you weren't expecting. There's so many acronyms and words and medical knowledge to know. And at the heart of it is our children, and it's about making sure they're happy, they have positive mental health, and they're supported correctly in schools. And then for schools, really just to keep educating yourself, keep learning, seek support from the specialists. Know that you're not on your own. There are experts out there to help you.
Lovely. Thank you, Lucy. So much more than your tics. I just have to get this out. Raising our children, we used to say to them, Tourette is the 7th most interesting thing about you. What are the top 6? And that kind of feeds to what you were saying about being a whole person and having them see that there's so much more than their tics. Tourette is the 7th most interesting thing about you. Virginia, I'm going to go down to you.
I've written so many things that I didn't say anything.
It happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course. You remember my anxiety and stress.
You did great.
Yeah, about the classroom and strategies and stuff. I'm looking forward to an inclusive education with laws that are not only a theoretical approach, but also I'm looking forward for implementation, actually. I'm looking forward for awareness, for technological help and support, for seminars and courses and speeches and groups coordinating together. And I'm looking forward for a law that will be valid and will recognize the TS, the Tourette syndrome, as an official syndrome for support, educational support, psychological support, social support, not in an overprotective way, as Mr. Svan said, because I wanted to say that before. A teacher has to listen to a kid's needs, but not, he doesn't have to be overprotective, because this is stressful too. You don't have to be so into it, like, oh, are you okay? Are you sure you're okay? Because you are so loud today. No, something is going on. We have to find out what is going on, and this is so stressful. So I hope for recognition as an extra need, let's say, and most of all acceptance that comes from within. Once again. Thank you.
Fabulous, thank you. You know, one of the things I wanted to add as you were talking about some of the strategies, one strategy parents can have is, you know, our kids can go off to school in the morning and their favorite cereal box is empty, right? And that can trigger them through the whole thing. Send a quick email to the teacher, not a long one. They don't need that in the first thing in the morning, but just a quick one that says, you know what, Sue is having a hard day. She's needs a little extra TLC today. And the teacher will know in advance what's happening. Kathy, we have you for 2.5 minutes.
So I think everybody really needs to recognize that many times Tourette is genetic. And so when you're working with parents, understand that they may have a little bit of the Tourette thing going on too. I had some learning disabilities, and in 9th grade, my counselor told me that I would never be able to go to college, that the best I could think to do it would be to be a clerk. And so I started helping my son, and like I said, he was very severe, but it was working, and the school was positive, and the teachers were wonderful. And I came home to my husband one time, and I said, you know, this can work. This can work. This can really work. I mean, our son's very severe, and this is working. This can work. And I said, I really feel like going up on the roof and yelling to the world, this can work. And now I'm yelling to the world. And I wish my counselor were still alive so he could see that, yeah, no, not a clerk.
No, you're hanging out in Athens.
Yeah.
All right, so with that, how about a round of applause for these brave people that sat up here today? So we do have speaker gifts for you all that I left under the table right there. So I've let you know that we did our homework, and we're going to be presenting you all with olive wood pens, because we did research and we learned that in Greece, the olive wood is considered to be a sign of knowledge and inclusion and everything else. So we were going to say thank you for that. I will be handing those out to you all later. Thank you all for being here. It's such great input. The more feedback we get from the audience on this, the better these presentations are. If there's anything that came out of today's talk that you think you'd like to hear about more next year, please, our feedback form, you'll be getting signs for that and all that. Let us know. All of our speakers are going to be here, so you can talk to them at any time. We are now going, I didn't bring up my agenda, we're going on break again, correct? Yes. We are now going on break. I think there's food in this break, right?
It's a 10-minute break.
Yes.
And the food is outside in the peristyle, is that correct? So either left or right entrance and towards the back is where coffee, drinks, and a slight snack is available.
I'd like having you up there. It's very comforting. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you in 10 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had some of those delicious yummies. We are going to be having a workshop now where we're going to be breaking you all up into groups. I'm going to let these lovely individuals take it from here. Can you please introduce yourselves first?
My name is
Micah? Dunlap.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm Roxana Apollonio, neuropsychologist from Spain and vice president of TTAG.
I'm Donatella Comasini, a clinical psychologist trained in neuropsychology and TTAG board member and president of ICST, Italian Association of Tourette Syndrome.
Good morning, my name is Agnieszka Malek. I come from Poland. I'm also a TTAG board member, and I'm the president of Tourette Syndrome Association of Poland. Thank you.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what global unity looks like. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you to be here today. I want to talk about a very important topic, the impact of the language on the perception of Tourette syndrome. Words can build bridge or raise wall. We must be very careful about this. The words we choose and we use are not just tools for communication. They have the power to shape our opinions and emotion, and most importantly, the way we interact with others. When discussing Tourette syndrome, it's crucial that we use language that doesn't stigmatize, but instead recognize the dignity and the uniqueness of each individual. Our goal is clear. We want to create a learning environment where every student feels supported and empowered in their educational journey. Words such as disturbed, hyperactive, and problematic are often used with students with Tourette syndrome. Consequences of using this kind of negative words can be profound. When students feel labeled or misunderstood, they can become frustrated and then isolate themselves. As educator, as parents, and as community member, we must strive to replace these negative words into positive and respectful one. By doing this, we can foster an inclusive environment where every student feels valued. When we speak to students in kind, understanding, and inspiring way, we see noticeable changes in their self-esteem and motivation. Imagine a classroom where every student feels valued for who they are. It would be great. By recognizing and celebrating individual strengths and abilities, we foster a culture of self-appreciation. It's one of the best ways to encourage our students to work together on projects and to build positive relationships. It's important to recognize the abilities and talents of each student. For example, students with Tourette can be very creative or possess excellent problem-solving skill, or also have an incredible sense of humor. So, underlying this characteristic, we can encourage them to exploit their strengths instead of focusing on their difficulties. Positive phrases like "good job," "I like as you tackle the problem," or also "your ideas are so insightful," may really do the difference. Diversity can enrich our classrooms and our lesson also. Students who learn to appreciate the difference will develop a nice sense of community and belonging that benefits everyone. Well, now we know that by highlighting students' ability, we send a strong message. Every student has something valuable to offer. We must encourage students to recognize their strength to help them to develop an healthy self-esteem. We must focus on our students' ability. We must use supportive language. Together, we can cultivate a space where all students can be supported, can feel supported, can feel valued, and inspired to reach their full potential. Thank you for your attention. And now I hand over to Roxana Apollonio, Vice President of TTAG, neuropsychologist, who will guide us in a brief mindfulness moment to help us to recognize before we continue. Thank you.
So, well, I feel very grateful for share with you this moment. So it is a mindfulness experience because we not just only we are going to listen many things. We are going to talk about many topics, but also we need to feel these things. So let us embrace in a tranquil pause, not just like the machine, but in a real check-in inside and break down. I invite you to take a rest. Most of them have been traveling since so far and perhaps are very stressful. So let your mind settle like a glass of water that has been shaken and now slowly becoming clear again. So, well, you can sit comfortably, and if you feel safe, you can close your eyes and sit with dignity, let your back support ourselves and upright but not rigid. And take 3 slow, deep breaths in and out. One more time. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Just notice how you are feeling. No need to change anything. Just breathe and be here. Now I invite you to bring to mind a moment when someone said something that made you feel truly seen and supported? What were the exact words? How did those words make you feel inside? That feeling, that sense of connection, is what we are building here today. And we can slowly open your eyes. And now, let's bring this experience into connection. I invite you to turn to the person next to you. And we are going to take 1 minute to share that experience. Remember that there is not a wrong way or a right way to share, just only share since your heart. Well, thank you for sharing. And do you notice that even small moments like this remind us that words matter? Words matter. You still remember that words, isn't it? Yeah. So, sometimes, as Donatella said, a single sentences can make the difference between feeling supported, understood, or feeling isolated. So we can use our language more consciously to support each other. And of course, also people with Tourette, but for everyone. So let's pause in something fascinating that it is powerful of these words. Our brains are wired for connections. So it is very, very important to good words or positive words can create strong bonds or can create more isolations. So the next part comes, thank you very much for your attention. And the next part is with Agnieszka Malek. And we are going to work together in this, make this difference. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, it's not the right. Okay, so now it's time to bring it all in action with a group activity. called Reframing with Strength. So I would kindly ask you to form 6 groups, about 5 people each. So could you please stand up and find a group? And you will be given a piece of paper with 5 sentences. Now, each of them is these sentences now are in not very good form, like not supportive one. So they are a focus on some limitation or some difficulties. So please try to reframe each of them into strength-based language and think how can we shift each of them to create more supportive environment. For example, for our student with Tourette's, but not only with Tourette's. So maybe one group in each of the corner, okay, of this beautiful auditory, and maybe one group in left and one group in right, Ale? Okay, but you did great job without my help. So you have 10 minutes to work on each of these sentences. And if you need our help, please let us know. And online attendees were also given the sentences. So you have time also to work on this, to think about it. And the very important is how you feel with these reframed sentences. So please take a minute not only to do this job, but also to think how you feel about it.
Each group have to choose a speaker. Okay?
So, who's ready? Please come back to your seats and choose one person who will talk about your ideas. You have microphones near your seats, so please choose one person who will tell us about your ideas. And please choose only corrected version, not the basic one. So who's the first one? We have a volunteer? Yes, we do. Group number 4. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. So the first sentence, which is, you are slow to learn. We suggest to reframe it in this way. You are a deep learner. It's fine that it takes you more time than others to learn the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Okay.
I love it.
And to the second sentence, you cannot tolerate frustration. We suggest to say it's normal. The thing is, let's try to separate frustration from the situation and help you to understand why you are frustrated when it happens. So the third sentence is isolated from the group. And our suggestion is, it's normal again. And some people need time alone. And it's the end of our contribution to this.
Thank you very much. And as you listen to each other, please try to reflect how you feel, but also how does the way we speak to someone can change self-esteem, the sense of belonging, etc. So try not to hear only, but also to feel it, okay? So who's the next one? Great. So if I may, only correct it once, 2 of them.
Exactly. So I'm group number 1. I was selected as a speaker because I wrote and nobody can read it. So we have chosen one sentence, is immature for the age.
Oh, I love it.
We have chosen he grows, or the person grows at his own pace.
Right.
Yeah. And another one is doesn't know how to work in the team, is able to finish tasks alone without support. That's those 2 phrases we converted.
Thank you so much. So group number 5, we're ready to hear your ideas.
Hello there. So the ones we've chosen are always needs attention, and we've converted this to the child is captivating, engaging, and always eager to contribute. We also added they may need more reassurance or require more support, because there's different ways of seeing that that comment. The second one we had was has a hard time concentrating. So we said is energetic, enthusiastic, has rich internal experiences, works better when things are broken up into clear breaks, things like that.
I'm impressed. Thank you very much. So group number 3 and group number 2. So who's ready? Group number 3.
Yeah, I will try. We had the sentence, he or she doesn't try hard enough. And we said it would be better to say he or she is doing the best he or she can. And he or she is very negative. Maybe it's better to say he's challenging, or he's or she's a critical thinker, or he or she wants things to be better, or sees both sides of the problem.
Okay, thank you very much. And group number 2? Who's your spokesman?
I'm really
Oh,
sorry. We chose the sentence has no control over impulses. So we thought that a proper way of communicating it is he is controlling, he or she is controlling his or her emotions, impulses in a very unique, in a very challenging process. Is a very no, I'm going to do it again. So sorry. Controlling his emotions and his impulses is a very challenging process that needs time and maturity to master it. And for the second phrase, we chose he doesn't understand things like others do, he or she. He understands things in a very unique way. We have so many things to learn from your perspective.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Michele, do we have any ideas from our online attendees? Thank you so much. In the meantime, after hearing all these sentences, could anyone share your thoughts? How was it? Do you think it was hard, easy, not a problem at all, or doesn't change anything? What do you think? Why were we talking about this? Oh, Belen?
Thank you. I would like to share something about this, but that happens to me when I did for the first time the mindfulness exercise that Roxana proposed. When I admit that I cheat, I cheated because I had done this exercise yesterday, and when I did it, I started to cry because Roxana asked us to remember something nice that we have heard someone told us and I couldn't find anything. And not because nobody told me something good, because a lot of times I receive nice words, but the first thing that comes to my mind was when my mother and I went to the doctor to have the diagnosis, and she told the doctor that my tics were monstrous. The only thing I could hear was monster. And now I know that harsh words scream, while loving words whisper in my head. And that's why it's so important how you teach to your kid, how you talk to the other one, no? Because that's how we begin to understand ourselves and our self-esteem. So I wanted to share this because for me it was very impressive, because I couldn't, in my head.
Because it was your
yes,
experience.
Bad words win.
So thank you once again, Belen. And Sarah, because I thought you were first one. Next one. Okay.
Because we learn in a specific way, so it's difficult for me, it was difficult to change the words and to be more polite.
Thank you very much. Virginia?
Your high feelings, let's say, from a teaching perspective. There is so many things during the day that would make you tired and angry, maybe, probably. And I'm always thinking to pick the right words. Thank you. And how can I say it? I'm always trying to pick the right words, not to be exaggerating words, like so that they won't look like fake words, but true words, polite words and true words to connect with the truth. So we're trying to be polite, but not fakely polite. I don't know if I'm.
Okay. So we have only 1 minute to discuss. So yes.
I was just going to say, the difficulty for me is that, so this felt really difficult exercise to do, even though I like to think of myself as a strengths-based person and sees the best in everyone. But the difficulty for me is when we talk to schools, if we don't speak about a child's difficulties, challenges, deficits, you don't get heard, you don't get any help. So I can talk about a person's strengths and how much of an independent thinker, how creative and energetic they are and everything, but it won't get them anywhere. So I'm stuck as a clinician because I'm always trying to advocate to a young person all of their lovely strengths that they have. But I have to switch to another hat when I talk to the school and have to talk about all the things that they can't do. So it feels incredibly dichotomous as a clinician to have that both in my head at the same time.
Thank you very much. And it's a lesson for us. It was really important to talk about it. So the next one is the short video. Okay, what happened? And it's based on real experience, real life experience. So let's have 1 minute with this. Okay, there is a problem with the sound. last word. Thank you very much for trying and to be.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I feel very grateful for share with you this workshop. I think we have to continue building spaces where we speak and create neurodiverse culture, so that neurodiversity is not only going to be accepted, but only really, truly valued.
Thank you for joining us in reflecting on the power of the words. And we must continue to develop awareness only by the words we speak. It's important to underline that the words are really, really very important and can make the difference. Thank you.
So thank you once again for your commitment. And I really appreciate that you share your thoughts with us. But we did small step today, but it's the beginning of changing, I think. So let's be the change we dream of. Thank you very much.
If you could please take your seat in your groups that you were in, we're going to begin.
Go for it. I need my presentation.
You advance it. You advance right here. There you go.
Oh, okay. Hello. So as an advocate, you've heard that I have worked many times and hours with schools. So we're going to be talking about strength-based strategies because that's totally what I believe in. And it will be interactions, so you will be getting into groups. We'll be giving you questions to discuss. You already know a lot about me. I'm the education chair for TTAG. I've been an education specialist for Tourette for the past over 35 years. I've worked at the Advocacy Center as well as the Tourette Association of America. I've been a behavioral consultant and an international presenter. My son and my husband and I authored a book entitled A Family's Quest for Rhythm. We thought that was clever because my son was a drummer. Rhythm, you know. I have also co-authored some education articles with the Center for Disease Control and Prevention in the United States. So these are my teachers. My daughter is now 50, and I have no clue how that happened. She is the one on the top right, and has the most wonderful husband in the world. My son Jeff just recently got married for the second time and has the most wonderful wife in the world. I am so blessed. At my son's recent wedding, I'm like, we are so blessed. We are so blessed. We have a wonderful family. And my son Matthew had severe Tourette as a youngster. He continues to have some pretty severe symptoms, but they included a lot of the coexisting conditions as well as neurological rage. So the objective is to give you tools and give you some information about common classroom challenges and how strength-based lens and brainstorming, you'll be brainstorming in a group to participate. And then to encourage collaboration and idea sharing. So I know there's a lot of good ideas out there, so we just need to share them in the groups. What you're going to want to consider when you're in the group is that the support and the assistant, it really is individualized and creative for every child, because every child with Tourette, the old expression is, if you've met one kid with Tourette, you've met one kid with Tourette. It really has to be creative and individualized. Each student will respond differently. Too often, I've been in meetings and teachers will say, well, I know all about Tourette. I had a Tourette a couple of years ago and a kid with Tourette a couple of years ago, and this strategy really worked. It may have worked really well for that student. It may not work for this student. So strategies vary. The tools and strategies, they have to be reevaluated every once in a while because students with Tourette, they change. You just get you get used to one symptom and then all of a sudden that either goes away or that one stays and is joined by another one. So you really have to continually be looking at the strategies and reevaluating and keep them if they work. And if they don't work, then modify or change. Symptoms over time, you're going to run into new challenges. And so being flexible is so critically important. These kids can be very creative. And so being flexible and creative yourself can be very helpful for students. And sometimes initial supports will change, like I've said, and then over time they become less successful and need to be changed. So this is a QR code that I have no idea what it's for. It's the educators. Oh, this is the one that, oh, okay. This will give you, it's going to help you in the groups because this is something that I worked with a close friend of mine in the United States, and it's an educator's guide for developing plans. So it's broken down into social skills, tics, obsessive compulsive, learning disabilities. It's quite lengthy, but it can be very helpful, and it should be important when you get into your groups and trying to figure things out. So the first breakout session, you're going to want to read the scenario aloud in your group and discuss the challenges that are presented in your group, and do some brainstorming. Like I said, you got to be creative, so you're going to have to do some brainstorming, and try to come up with at least 3 possible strategies or responses that may help with the situation that you've been handed. Consider the approach may need to change, like I said. Symptoms wax and wane, my 2 most hated words in the English language when my son was young, because I figured out I had it figured out, and then it wasn't figured out. So they can wax and wane. So you sort of want to have a backup plan. I always say that one good thing for kids with Tourette is to have a person that they trust, and you want to have a backup person that they trust, because that trusted person might not be available, and then things can not work out well. And so identify the additional supports that might be needed in the future, something like a school counselor or an updated plan. And parent communication can be really critical. I hear from a lot of parents that they hear from the school about what the kid did wrong. Try to call the parents every once in a while and tell them what the child did well, because we as parents, we hear a lot what they're not doing well. So that may be part of your plan too. So break out the session number 1, group 1. So we've got the groups. So you've got a student with vocal tics that are disruptive to the activities. The challenge is that other students are distracted or annoyed, and the teacher isn't quite sure how to manage this. Considerations might be the sitting arrangement. I like Marla's expression. A lot of students like to be sitting by the door, knowing that they can leave for a few minutes. Peer education, noise reducing tools, solo work. I was in a meeting one time, and they said he just doesn't work well in groups. He was in 9th grade, and this wonderful pediatrician that was with me said, as an adult, he's not going to have to worry about working with other kids in 9th grade. He likes to work alone. That's how he does well. So be flexible. And group number 2, there's teasing going on. There's teasing maybe subtle. A lot of times I hear that the teasing will go on when the teacher's back is turned. So it may be subtle. And consideration school-wide anti-bullying policies, discussion about neurodiverse individuals. And group number 3, a student grows increasingly frustrated with academic tasks. Find out why. I'm like, you probably don't remember the TV show Monk, always wanted to know why. That's me. I'm like that little bug that keeps asking why. So why are they frustrated and what kind of supports can I give them to help? So are we breaking into sessions now?
Well, as I realized, we had 3 groups. We're broken currently into 5. So instead of moving everyone around, why don't we just capture, like, you do group 1, you do group 2, you do group 3, and you all do whichever one you want to choose. Keep it easy. Sound good? Beautiful. 10 minutes. Have fun.
What exactly are we meant to be discussing? I'm a bit unclear.
Pardon me?
Sorry, I'm a bit unclear. What are we meant to be discussing exactly? What is the task? I know you presented the scenarios, but what is the task?
To come up with some suggestions, some positive and proactive suggestions that might be helpful. I'll be wandering around if anybody has any questions. And if you need some suggestions, the thing that you downloaded will have suggestions under specific challenges.
Okay, I hate to interrupt, but again, we're on a time frame. So we're going to have each group report out on what you looked at and what your thoughts were. And unfortunately, we're going to have to keep it brief because again, we're time-wise. So does anybody want to volunteer? Yes. You have a mic?
So we were group 2, the students being teased by their peers for their differences. The teasing is subtle but persistent, and the student is withdrawn and disengaged. So the first thing really, I guess, is just we can't assume it's because of their Tourette's. It probably is, but we can't assume. So, talk to the child. There could be something going on at home. They could have had a change in circumstances. So important to talk to the child just to double check that, they could have had, I don't know, their granddad might be poorly or something. That might be why they're disengaged. But if it's not that, if it is the tics, then with the child's permission, we would educate the class and the wider school if possible. But it's always important to get the child's agreement to that, because the last thing you want to do is go in, and tell everybody and disclose. The other kids probably know, but like with my son, he was horrified that we would tell anyone. He thought it was this big secret, and he wasn't ready. He did become ready at some point, but it's really important that they own the disclosure and they're happy with their peers knowing. So if we get the permission, then educate the class. Tourette's Action, we have things like lesson plans, so the teacher doesn't even need to go to a lot of work. We've got lesson plans for all the different ages, up primary school up to secondary school, 45, 50-minute lesson plans with exercises for the kids to do. So we quite often send those out. And the kids are confident enough at the end, then they can talk about how it makes them feel when kids are mean. Sorry, I'm being told to wind it up. Obviously, anti-bullying policy, the whole school need to revisit that if the kids are being mean. And again, it could be additional comorbidities. So, don't assume it's tics again. It could be the ADHD or whatever. So I'll shut up now.
Thank you. Another group want to volunteer?
They think I'm familiar with the microphone, but I'm not. So about the number 2 case, that has to do with the peer pressure and the bullying, we said that we have to build anti-bullying strategies from the beginning. In the beginning of the school year, the teacher can make a contract, let's say, with rules and values that will follow the school year, the rest of the school year. So everybody has to be committed to this contract, and which means, yes, we respect each other, we are kind to each other, we are all different, and of course, we're all different, and we respect this diversity, and we are committed to this. We support one another, and what else? We support one another, and we are trying to understand, and we talk. During the school year, we can have these role-playing techniques. You said about the bad leg example. Let's imagine having, or I'm going to say about the hiccup again, okay? We can make each student understand the tics of the student with Tourette's, how would you feel? And we can make questions like, how would you feel? Would you feel confident, or what would you do? So that they will put themselves, yeah. They will understand, and they will put themselves in the other shoes.
Yeah, I know you were talking about having a student have hiccups for 5 minutes.
Exactly.
And that
Exactly.
kind of gives a little bit of feeling of what it's like.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Number 3 group. Oh. Okay, you guys want to go first? Somebody speaks.
Yeah, group 1. We talked about various options here with how to understand the task. Is it a first time in the classroom or is it a sort of more a proactive address to the situation? So we discussed both options, and we know that transitions can be difficult. So one thing could be that the student sits and the rest of the group moves around. So the student with TS doesn't have to have that transition, could be one thing. And also with respect to seating arrangements, that the student, him or herself, chooses where to sit. Instead of being felt is punished by being seated by the teacher. Because some students would like to sit in the back so they don't have anybody behind them to see them take. Some need to sit close to the door. Some can't sit by the window because the eyes will automatically go out and they lose their attention. We also talked about having the possibility to go to a break room to settle down with the agreement between the student and the teacher, so they both know where the student should go, for how long, and that is an arrangement that both agreed upon. This breakout room could have like fidget toys to sit and draw and doodle or listen to music. Preferably not doing gaming, because then it might be more interesting to be there than in the class. So various options, but also be more proactive with the peer education, with the consent of the student, him or herself. So these are some quite hands-on things that can possibly be done. We don't know, but that's what we discussed.
And you know, one thing you touched on that I have always found important is to include the child in the plan. Too many times we adults sit around the table and we think we came up with this wonderful plan, and then the kid comes in and he says, well, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. I'm not going to do that. So including the child in the plan can sometimes be
I'd just like to mention that we come from Norway, and in there we have a program called That's How I Wanted It in School, which is with the triangle, the student, the parents, the teacher. They go through, it's also being supported by drawings in case you don't have the words. So everything, how to be met when you come to school, what about the wardrobe where you take out your clothes, inside, how messages should be given one by one, step like that. So all these things are included in that program.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do we have time?
Shy group first.
All right, so we did the group number 2 scenario, and so we talked about the basically a multifaceted approach depending on the situation in terms of addressing teasing and bullying by peers. Some as a basic fundamental thing, to have a school-wide policy, that's important, and sometimes the kids really don't want to be singled out. So they don't want there to be discussion about their particular case because they can become even more of a target. So then again, the focus could be more school-wide or class-wide. So it's important to involve the kid in the solution. And part of also the role of the school-wide policy in particular is information for the potential bullies, but also for the child themselves, so they know what their resources are, their sources of support and such. And then otherwise, on a more individual level, education to the class, to the peers about Tourette syndrome, tics, assuming that's what this is. If that's the target of the bullying, is this a more broad bullying by multiple peers, or is there a specific bully? And maybe the issue is more not so much the kid being targeted, but more the bully themselves who's struggling for whatever reason, and then understanding that context as well.
Great. Thank you. This has been wonderful. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, so we're not going to break into groups for the second one, but what I'd like to do is show them. Yeah, and have a group discussion about it. So what does a student do well? How important is that? You know, we know a sense of self-esteem. When my son started to be recognized for his drumming, he thought he was the best thing since sliced bread. You know, he had a really good self-esteem, which really helped him with everything. Does anybody have any other suggestions about how to find out what the student does well and what to do? Yeah.
It's just about giving them a responsibility in school, and then they will feel good about having been selected to have that responsibility. So a kid that I worked with, there was a big fish tank in the school, and one of their responsibilities that they were pointed out was they're going to be the fish feeder, the fish tank cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
They loved it. They were so proud that they'd been chosen to do this important task, and the fish tank was a massive deal for the whole reception area. And that was what they felt so motivated to go into school for and felt really proud of. So it springboarded that kid's confidence, and then just led to other great things.
It really is. It doesn't take a lot sometimes, but something that they know, you know, I need to go to school because I need to feed the fish. And the other kids see this, and so then they start responding to it. It really can be, yeah, wonderful.
I think one problem in academics is that there are not that broad options to show what you can do. It's narrowed. School system has not so many options. So for some people, it's very hard to find. They are very good in things, but they come up later in their lifetime because what they are very good in doesn't count in school. So maybe school, we should look at in our society how we can develop our school systems. We keep them for hundreds of years, very in the same paths and fields, and we are very slow in developing other fields which are very important for our society, like digitalization, for example, which plays a role in the German school system, but worldwide, this is a great ability to, that's just my thoughts.
Nope, it's not on. One thing the U.S. is doing well, some schools are starting to have a strength-based program, so that rather than doing math, which I was terrible at, they would allow me to graduate by doing something that I was good at, and maybe doing a little bit of math, like teach me how to do my checkbook. That would be, my husband would have been very happy about that. So, but it's not, you know, it's not all over the place yet. So I think maybe society is sort of going that way And I think that's great, because you're right. It's very, in order to graduate, you have to do this, 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 and this. And, I think we need to change. So how are the strengths being used to overcome the challenge? Again, that takes some creativity on the teacher's part and the school's part. I have a slide when I do presentations that we need to see the student as having a problem, not being the problem. And once we get into that mindset, then we can be more helpful. Because if we see them as the problem, then we're going to want to discipline. We're not going to want to help them. What might peers learn from the student? I think we touched on that a little bit, like with the feeding the fish. If we can find something that is the student's strength, and it can be athletics. Does anybody have any ideas about that? On what the other students can learn from the student with Tourette. I think that's hard. Yeah.
And they learn the term of diversity from inside. It's very liberating because it starts from an early age. It is a great stimuli. It's a great stimuli for diversity as an experience.
And as we've talked about, everybody has differences. So if we can see, if the other students can see this kid has overcome it. Yes.
I was just going to say some of the adjustments that we suggest for children, like the movement breaks, for example, are necessary and useful for everyone. So, Adam needs the 5-minute jumping around break. Why doesn't everyone just do it? Because everyone will learn better and focus better after that 5-minute jumping around break. So they will learn that that's useful for everyone. Yes,
Everybody is using it, or the toys,
Yes, I think the peers can also learn about their own challenges.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
because many times they discover that they also have some neurodiversity also. For example, I can't stand their sounds, for example. No, they have hypersensibility
And
to
I like
sounds.
the last thing. How do we redefine success? First of all, you turn the mic on. Redefining success, I think, is really important for kids with Tourette, because lots of times they're not successful in everything. So redefining it so that they can have some self-esteem, and then the other kids can see that, and I think that spreads. Okay, so this is the wrap up, and we invite you all to share and take something away from this, and encourage you to try one strategy. Whether you're a parent or a teacher, or you can maybe tell the administrators, if you're a teacher, you may want to tell the administrators first that you're going to try this strategy and see how it works. And hallelujah, if it works, then maybe it could spread, throughout the school. We will stay in touch through email and some follow-up resources. And a lot of people have asked me about the videos that we made. They're going to be on our website soon, hopefully. Okay.
Very soon.
Roxana has done a wonderful job editing them. All I did was talk. Roxana edited. And yeah, use the summary and let us know what was good, what helped. I learned this a long time ago, and thank goodness Marla found out who the person was. I didn't want to steal the quote, but I say this all this time. Students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. My amazing son. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Matthew. Again, I told you he started out and everybody, well, not the work case. Everybody told me he was the worst case. And everybody told me how interesting my family was. I didn't want to be interesting. I wanted to be boring, but we weren't. And the evidence that positive and proactive works is my son, because he went from everybody thinking that he was the most impacted and the most difficult, and now he lives on his own, thank you God. And he is an inventor, he's a hard worker, he has a good life. He still thinks he's, sometimes he thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread. Not always. But we have proof that the positive and proactive works. His teachers, all of his teachers were positive and proactive. We tried to be in our home. We weren't successful 100% of the time. I hope some of you parents can identify with that. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's difficult for teachers. It's difficult for parents, but it's most difficult for the child. And with that,
Wealth of knowledge.
actually, I'm leaving Friday morning.
No, we're not letting you go. All right, everyone. We are in the home stretch. Donatella.
Okay, now at the end of the conference, we would like to share a short video that is a trailer of the In Front of the Classroom, a true real story of Brad Cohen.
Today we're going to be talking about fractions. Fractions are your friend. Use fractions in everyday life. You just don't realize it. For example, say your mother bakes a pie. She cuts the... Cohen, just go to the principal's office.
Not the best way to introduce myself to the principal.
What do you think a school's for, Brad?
What? Drop! Sorry, I keep disrupting the
You're not
class.
answering my question. What's a school for? To educate, isn't it?
Drop!
To use knowledge to wipe out ignorance. School's orchestra's having a concert this afternoon. You planning on going?
No, sir. My tics will ruin the music.
I want you to be there. Everybody just keep your seats for a minute, please. Thank you. You enjoy the concert? Great job. Did you hear any noises during the quiet parts? Yeah, so did I. They're pretty annoying, aren't they? The person making those noises is Brad Cohen. Come on up here, Brad. Do you like making noises and upsetting people, Brad?
No, sir.
Then why do you do it?
What? Because I have Tourette syndrome.
What's that?
It's a thing in my brain that causes me to make weird noises.
But you could control it if you wanted to, right?
No, sir. It's a sickness.
Well, why can't you just get cured?
There isn't any cure. I don't like making noises any more than you like hearing them. They're even worse when I get stressed, when you don't accept that I can't stop them. But when I feel accepted, then they're not so bad.
What can we do? And I mean everyone in this school. What can we do to help you, Brad?
I just want to be treated like everybody else.
Good job. Give me some.
A little education, and it was like opening a door to a brand new world. Now someday, some way I knew, Tourette's or no Tourette's, I was going to be a teacher.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I've seen this trailer many times, and still it moves me deeply, really. And if you haven't seen the full film, you can find it on YouTube channel. The title of the film is In Front of the Class. I recommend it. This real life story shows us the both sides. How the teacher harsh words and lack of awareness and empathy can increase tics and cause deep emotional pain. And how a principled, inclusive attitude and kind support can completely change a child's path and create a culture of respect. Teachers are role models. If they are inclusive, also students will follow. This is true. Change begins with awareness. And Tourette syndrome awareness starts with TTAG. Join us because every voice matters. Together, we can create a world where every person with Tourette syndrome can feel heard, seen, and supported. Thank you for being here today. Thank you very much.
This is a very special moment. Thank you for sharing this caption of the very emotional film. I must say it touched me as well. And I'm proud to be here with you, my team. Me too. Me too. So I'm more than happy to have you here today. This is not the entire board, but it's the majority or a good portion of the board. And maybe just to put what we were talking about, what we were trying to transmit and discuss with you is that empowering minds is basically creating space. If it's a new space, it's a different space, but creating space for everyone, no matter if someone has tics, has ADHD, has something else, but to be the person they want to be and they can be if they have the space to grow. So education is not just information, it's inclusive, being inclusive, being compassionate, and being creative. So I hope that you can take this message with you. And thank you for you ladies. And I don't think it's coincidence that our board is only females, but it's something very, very special, and you're so close to my heart. So thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're done. Thank you so much for coming. Let's eat.